Some they call it functional alcoholism, but if you know anything about Ben, he's got vision with precision, microphones and a tinkle of derision. You're about to hear what beer can be. It's time for Barley and me.
Welcome to Barley and Me. I'm your host, Ben Rice. This is episode 126. We're here today in completely separate locations, sheltering in place, practicing social distancing. We're here today to talk about the Pink Boots Society with founder Teri Fahrendorf.
Hi there.
And then also on the brewing side, we've got two representatives from Fort Rock Brewing. We've got the director of fun-tivities, Heidi Wilder.
Hey there, guys.
And also the head brewer, Alyssa Steger.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Usually I would lead this off, as you know, with the question of how's business, but that's probably not an ideal question at the moment. So how are things? Well, let's just do this. Teri, you're the founder of the Pink Boots Society. What is Pink Boots, and why did you decide to found it?
Well, I created Pink Boots Society to inspire, encourage, and empower women in the beer industry to advance their careers through education. And I did that because I was on a road trip in 2007 visiting all my brewing friends and visiting other breweries. I called myself the road brewer. I had just come off of 19 years as a brewmaster. And I met some young women and new brewers along the way who thought they were the only woman brewer out there. And obviously they weren't. And I got this sense that they really needed to connect with other women in the beer industry, especially at the time. I was thinking just brewers, but obviously Pink Boots goes well beyond that now. Yeah,
definitely. You've got your taproom managers, your sales reps, pretty much anybody who works around beer can be a part of Pink Boots Society, the women in beer.
If they're female.
Yeah. Right. Good point. Yeah. So,
or they self-identify as female.
Yeah. It's a wonderful foundation. I think it's been great because a lot of people, like you were saying, did feel alone and like they were doing it on their own, and they were if they knew somebody, they didn't know them personally. They would like heard stories of people that maybe they could talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Alyssa, you are involved pretty heavily in the Pink Boots Society.
Yeah, I'm the Sacramento chapter leader. I've been chapter leader for the past year and a half, and I've been brewing only a little bit longer since I graduated from college, but have just really been in love with it.
I talked to a lot of women in beer because I feel like they're underrepresented just in general in the beer community, but also on these beer podcasts. I can't change who I am, so I'm like, maybe I'll get my guests to not be who I am, so it's very exciting to like give people a voice and a chance to talk about what's going on and what it's like to be a woman in beer.
Well, we don't know what it's like to be a man in beer at all.
Me neither.
You just know what it is to be a man that drinks beer. So,
Yeah. So that's my fault. But anyway, so how have you, Teri, since it's 2007, so we're about 13 years into this project. What did you think was going to happen when you founded it? Did you think it was going to be like a couple dozen members? What was the expectation?
I really had no idea. I started it as just a list, and at the end of my 5-month road trip, I had 60 women brewers on the list. And so then I went home, and spring was rolling around the next spring, and I realized the Craft Brewers Conference was going to be in San Diego. So I called Laura Ulrich, who was the first person that I visited, the first young woman that I met on that trip, and who really helped inspire me. And she's the president of Pink Boots now, by the way. And so I said, hey, should we get the ladies on the list together for a meeting? And she said, yeah, let's do that. And so we did, and I said, okay, ladies, and we had an amazing luncheon that she and Jessica set up for us at Gordon Biersch Brewing, and we had 22 women at that meeting. 16 of us were brewers, and the other 6 were women beer writers, because I felt it was historical. We had never had women brewers get in a room together all estrogen, no men, and we wanted to feel what that felt like. So I asked the ladies to vote, and I said, first of all, do you want to be a list online or an organization or what? And they voted to be an organization. And so I'm like, whoa, I don't know what that means, but I'll probably need some help. And then I said, well, who are we? And the women brewers said, well, look around, we're brewers. I said, look, again, there are 6 women beer writers here, and they have all asked to join, as have packaging managers and, brewery sales reps, etc. So there's a lot of discussion on who we were going to be, including, should we include men? The 2 gals who wanted to include men got outvoted, and I said, because one of the things I reminded the group is that if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. So they voted to stand for women, beer, professionals, those things. And so I was really proud of them. And I told the 2 gals who wanted to include men, I said, we don't want to replicate what's already out here, like the ASBC and the Master Brewers Association and other groups like that. Because we don't stand for something, we stand for nothing. And I said to them, wait 2 years, see what this organization wants to be, because we gave birth to it today, but we have no idea who she wants to be. But let's wait a couple of years, and then if you still feel that men need to be members, bring it back to the table. And they've never brought it back. In fact, they've come back to me and said, we see what you were trying to do now, and it's working. And so they understood that we're just trying to level the playing field here. Does that answer the question?
Oh, definitely. Okay. And I think we're seeing the fruits of the labors coming through pretty strongly. I know in the Sacramento region where we're at, as far as Fort Rock and myself, there's a ton of women in the beer industry, people that are taking on management positions, brewing positions, ownership positions. I think for a time, 3 of the 4 in Auburn had female brewers, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
the way I see it is that you have to see yourself you have to see someone who you identify with in a position before you can even dream yourself into that position. So we are the positive female role models in the beer industry. And so I do feel that just by its very existence, Pink Boots Society has inspired women to broaden their vision of who they could be and what they could do. I saw that. That's part of how I got into brewing. I had attended the 1988 Great American Beer Festival, and I saw a woman about my height and about my size get up on stage and win a medal. That was Melly Pullman. She was the first craft beer brewmaster in the modern era, and that was 1988. And I saw her win some medals, and I was like, oh my gosh, if she can do it, I can do it. But I had to see that, otherwise it never even occurred to me that was a career choice. It never even crossed my mind until I saw her.
So what brought you to that event then? Like, what were you doing at that point?
Well, I was a home brewer, and I had been home brewing for 3 years. I was an all-extract home brewer, and I made about 5 batches a year. And this was back in the 1980s. This is the 1988 Great American Beer Festival. And so, what happened in the 80s, you had to wear suits to work. So first you get out of college, and I was a computer programmer at the time, and I'm in a cubicle, and I don't like cubicles. And so you save up your money, and you're paying off your student loans, and you have to buy suits. So when you finally have 5 suits, 1 for every day of the week, then you can, all of a sudden you have some extra money. And you're like, wow, I could actually take a vacation. And you're trying to build your career, so beyond that, you're doing all these career building things. But at that point, I had been a professional computer programmer for 4.5 years, and I thought, I'm going to do something for my hobby, which was homebrewing. And my sister lived in Denver, and I thought, wow, I could stay at her house, borrow her car, it would be a very cheap vacation, and I can attend the American Homebrewers Association conference. And at the time, the Great American Beer Festival was associated and held at the same time, and it was June 1988. So I just was there just for the fun of pursuing a hobby, because I liked homebrewing, and I had no clue that you could be a brewer. And I met people there. I met Charlie Papazian, I met John Meyer, from Rogue Brewing, who at the time was the brewmaster at Alaskan Brewing Company in Depot, Alaska. I met a few other people, and I was like, how did you make that jump from high tech to brewing? And they said, basically, these were people who had attended Chicago. So I thought if they can make that jump professionally, so can I. And financially, and survive. And I thought if they can do it, so can I. But you have to see yourself. And so now, there are other women who are seeing you, Heidi, and seeing you, Alyssa, that are going, wow, if they can do it, I can do it too. And you're inspiring them. And so we're all inspiring each other, which is, it's snowballing. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah. And that's a crazy number of things that had to line up for you to have that experience. Like, what if your sister didn't live in Denver? What would you have done? Like, would this ever have happened? Or would it be so much later you'd be like, I'm already pretty set where I'm at. I'm happy with where I'm at. That's a fake dream I wouldn't even consider pursuing. Like, that's crazy that one little confluence of items led to all this.
It was such a coincidence. And then, it's funny. I think Goethe has this quote that, when you make up your mind, the world conspires to help you. And I don't remember the exact quote, but while I was there, I pretty much decided I'm gonna go to that brewing school called Siebel, and I'm gonna become a brewer because I don't like being a programmer. And so I got back from the Great American Beer Festival and the Homebrewers Conference, and my boss comes to me and says, I need you to go to Chicago to take a programming class to get you to the next level. And that's where the Siebel Institute was. So I called Siebel and I said, hey, I have to come to Chicago for a computer programming class. I would like to come and see your school and talk to you because my degree is in business and computers. I have 1 year of chemistry under my belt, 1 semester of biology, and I don't know if I can actually, and I've got statistics, but I'm not really sure I can actually hack the advanced brewing classes you have. Can I come out and meet with a professor, an instructor? So I did. I basically got out there. I went a little bit early, and I took the L train to the end of the line, and then a bus, and then I walked down to Peterson Avenue to where they were, and they gave me a tour, and I talked to the instructor, and he said, yeah, I think you can do it based on meeting you and your experience, and we have a library here that you can study in, and if you have any questions or anything, we'd be happy to help you after class. So in 1988, I attended a diploma class, and I was the only homebrewer, wannabe craft brewer in that class. A couple people, now Siebel has graduated tons of homebrewers who want to go pro, but at the time, it was Jamie Emerson from Full Sail Brewing, Dan Carey from New Glarus Brewing, and then John Meyer from who recently retired from Rogue. But those are the three, and Don Outerson, who is a distiller in Cleveland. Those 4 people were the only, quote, craft brewers who attended before I did, the Siebel Institute. So it's a brave new world. It costs, for me to attend Siebel, cost me half of my entire university education. So I was writing out this check that was the biggest thing I'd ever written out to attend Siebel, going, oh my God, am I nuts? I still have a college loan I got to pay back. And I was writing out a check because there were really no loans for that.
Yeah.
But and I thought, well, I can always go back to being a computer programmer, but I really hate that job. And it was 1988, so we were still in, we were in a kind of a recession in the 80s at that point. But it's been a brilliant career move for me. I've been able to surf that wave for 30 years of, being in the craft beer industry, and I wouldn't have wanted to spend my time anywhere else. That's that.
How did it go with your, kind of basic biology, chemistry background into brewing? Was it a big jump for you? Or did you kind of were you able to smooth it over pretty well?
Well, it was hard because I don't really like reading chemical formulas, but at least I understood the balance of them. So I was able to do that. And, the hands-on stuff is fun for me. I'm very much a practical hands-on person. And I consider myself much more of an artist than a scientist. But I did it. I got through. Finding a job on the other side was a little tough because there when I graduated in 1988, I swear I remember that there were 50 craft breweries in the nation and 50 large or regional breweries. So there was like 100 breweries in the entire country, and I'm trying to get a job at one. I was the first uh, woman craft brewmaster that I know of in North America that was actually not an owner and who was looking for a job. The first ones who were craft brewmasters was Melly Pullman was first in 1986. The second one was Carol Stout in 1987. They were both owners. And then there was me in 1988, and I've never been a brewery owner. I've always been an employee. So, but that's been, the one thing you got to remember when you're a brewer and you want to become an owner is that pretty much you don't get to brew anymore.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
It's easier to train someone to do your brewing for you than it is to train someone to run your business for you. So you have to run the business yourself. And no one can sell your beer better than an owner who's a passionate brewmaster as well. So I got to keep brewing by basically not being an owner. So that worked for me because I'm an artist type.
That's incredible. That's like, Alyssa, so you're fairly new to the beer industry, and yet you've already kind of skyrocketed through it. Listen to previous episodes to find out more about that. No need to rehash it. But what made you kind of lean into that so quickly and so young to get into the beer industry and just go?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was getting my degree in food science and technology, and I'd always wanted to work in some type of like food hands-on type career, super similar to you, Teri. Like I've always loved cooking and like kind of hands-on work and the artistry of it all. And so I knew I wanted to have a science background to go with it because I'm always fascinated by how it all works. And then when I was taking my classes, you could do your general food science degree and graduate and take a certain number of elective courses, but you could also do, instead of the electives, an emphasis in beer and brewing and take, I think, 5 or 6 brewing specific courses. And I took the first one just for fun to see what it was about, because everyone's always like, oh, college class about beer, how cool. But a lot of people would end up in that class and realize that there's a lot of deep science in it and not really appreciate that and get pretty bored with it because they were hoping to just learn about drinking beer and tasting. And there's so much more, all of the classes about making it. But I thought it was super cool because as a product, it has an interesting history. Of course, it's having like a cultural revolution with the number of craft breweries. It includes almost every life science you can think of between like biology and chemistry, physics, fermentation, all of those fun things. Like, and then you put it in one product. And the industry itself is so collaborative, which I really love. You meet brewers all the time and they always are like, let's hang out, let's collaborate, let's talk about things. If you ask a brewery owner like, hey, I love this beer you do, like, what's your like thing? How did you get this flavor? They'll just tell you. They're not trying to hide it. They're like, oh my gosh, let me tell you, I love this yeast, I love this grain, whatever it might be. And so that all was super attractive to me. And I'm really glad it's held true since getting into the industry.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bunch of bakers who are like, oh, well, this is what I put in my chocolate chip cookies, and it's like everybody knows what goes in beer. It's just like, how did you make those chocolate chip cookies? And brewers are very generous that way, where it's like, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And so it's very collaborative.
Yeah. And so Heidi, when you opened up Fort Rock Brewing, did you feel like you were going to be somebody that another woman who wanted to get into beer could look up to? Was that a thing that you even considered as you were opening Fort Rock?
No, it's a happy accident. I will say that a lot of women have looked up to me in the past because I've been in other environments where there's been a lot of women. And so I do have women who are like, oh, I want to be just like you when I grow up. And I say, well, then don't grow up. That's like the worst thing you can do. And so yeah, I have found this like little niche of females that are in pink boots and not pink boots that are like, oh, I really, you inspire me. And I was like, oh God, that's very scary because what if I do the wrong thing? But yeah, we just opened the brewery because, I mean, my husband, again, was in the same thing you were doing, Teri, was computer programming for 20 years. and he hated it. He was miserable. And so we was just like, I got to get out of this. And we'd been brewing and making good beer. And he was like, I think we could make a go of opening a brewery. And I was like, all right, sounds good. Let's do it. Because the worst thing could happen is you'd have to go back to work. Like, that would be worst case scenario. So, yeah, but I'm glad to inspire people. And hopefully I'm setting a good example for, people who want inspiration.
Yeah. And I kind of like the idea that you're like, no, I didn't even consider that. But it's all because of work that Teri and the Pink Boots people did to help push that this is a completely normal thing that you can just do.
Yeah.
It's not some, it still is like a hard thing to do, a hard thing to overcome. And it's still like a difficult process to be accepted by, the lesser, of the species. But, but at the same time, like, you've seen so many representations that this is absolutely a normal thing to do, and that's very cool. That's a tribute to Teri and everybody's work before, and showing that women can do this and do it better.
Well, women were the original brewers. You guys do know this. So, but I mean, it is kind of a fringe, career, I guess. People are always surprised when I say, what do you do? Oh, we own a brewery, and they go, really? And it's not like, oh, really? Come on. But it's always like, that's super cool that you do that, because it's not something like, oh, I work at, like, in our town, Intel, because Intel is like we call it the mine of Folsom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a different thing. People are like, oh, that's very interesting that you do that. And, it's not a common answer you get unless you're actually, like, in the industry.
Well, and you're getting better comments. I think, like, I used to get comments that people would say, well, first of all, like, I'd be cleaning lines and they're like, you're not the brewer, are you? I'm like, yeah, I am. And even like a young person, this is, of course, 25 years ago, would just by accident spit up, oh, but this beer is good. And then they go, oh, they didn't mean to say that. But, oh, this beer is good. But wait, this beer is good. Yes, of course it's good. And then, somebody else would say, well, you're not the brewmaster. And I go, yeah, I am. But you have a big, strong guy back there who's in the background and doing all the heavy work, right? No, it's me. And so people used to say really silly things that I think we've moved past that now. It's not such a novelty. It's not like I'm hiding an assistant brewer in my pocket like that, But I had one couple that said, well, that's just a mural, right? And I go, no, it's a window. Move your, it's not a mural of a brewery. It's an actual window, and that's a real work brewery. But people used to say really kind of silly things. Even just, I'm sure I had some interview questions, and I can tell you what they were, that were just kind of stupid, that hopefully no one's asking those stupid interview questions anymore.
I hope I don't ask one. What if I ask one? What happens? Just yell at me. Just let me know.
We get a bell. We get a bell here, yeah. Well, no, so like,
I'm like, well,
good example.
Those bags of malt are like 50 pounds. Can you even physically carry that, or do you need a good strong man to get get that stuff in there, and then you do all the mixing, right?
Well, yeah. Well, like I had an interview question like that. Can you lift this 55-pound bag over your head into the mill? And I said, well, no, but I would get some cinder blocks and some boards, and I would build some steps, and the mill's not that fast, so I could bust that bag into two 5-gallon buckets, and I could do just as fast as a guy.
Yeah.
I had one brewer say, can you carry a full half barrel of beer up a flight of steps? And I said, well, no one should be doing that, because that's going to be about 168 pounds or something like that, 180 pounds probably.
Yeah.
And I said, I would get a winch maybe and a slide, board for sliding, or a hand truck and just bump it up the steps. Oh, I'm sorry. They wouldn't even interview me. This was over the phone. Oh, I'm sorry. We require all our brewers to be able to carry a full half barrel of beer up a flight of steps. But what I tell people now is I say, any brewery that's a safe brewery, any woman can work it. And any brewery that an old brewer, because now we have old brewers,
right,
who's over 50 years old, who has been doing the muscle thing his whole career, say a guy who now has bad knees and a bad back, any brewery that a guy like that can work in, any woman can work in. In other words, if you want to make sure your brewery is safe, hire a woman. And she's going to make sure your brewery is safe for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, asinine. And thank you for putting up with all of that. I'm hoping that for the most part, Alyssa and Heidi, you're not dealing with that on a daily basis anymore. I'm sure it's still like weekly, sometimes on a bad month, and then monthly pretty regularly, unfortunately. But
What the
just dumb,
possibly sexist comments?
yeah.
No, I don't put up with them.
Yeah.
I did had a really cute comment from my parents. So Alyssa, you've met my parents, right? My mom was concerned about your safety when we first hired you. And I was like, no, my parents are 79 and my mother is very protective. And so I was like, this is our new brewer, Alyssa. And she's like, is she going to be able to pick up all those bags? I'm like, yes, Mom, we have forklifts and stuff. And she was like, okay, well, I'm just a little worried about her. And I was like, so they still get those comments, but they're good-hearted comments, you know? So I'm like, Mommy, we'll take good care of her. It'll be fine. So,
I think nowadays it's not as much like people probably were more ignorant back in the day. Now I think they're just surprised and they don't like mean it in a bad way, but I still get people who, you know, their first, whenever I say, oh, I work at a brewery, they're like, oh, you work in the tap room. Oh, you work in sales. Like it's never production is the first thing they think. And whenever I tell them, no, I'm a brewer, I'm a head brewer, I'll get like good reactions almost always. Like, oh, wow, okay, that's really cool. But that's what inspires me to still be like part of Pink Boots and really vocal about women in beer. Because I've had people who are like, oh, you know, Pink Boots is nice, but like, is it really like, what does it really do for you guys right now? Because it seems like everything's okay, and I have to be like, well, it seems like it, but no, like there's still people who don't expect me to be there, and it's still surprising that I'm in this space that they expect a bearded flannel clad man in, and so that's why I need to be doing what I do, because I want people to not even question what role I have in a brewery.
Yeah, we need better gender parity at the top level. It's so refreshing to see both of you, Heidi and Alyssa, because until we have gender parity at those top levels in the beer industry, meaning the leaders, which are the owners and the brewmasters, so we have gender parity at that level, it's going to be a surprise. And the problem with it being a surprise is everyone wants to talk about gender, and we want to get to the point where it's so normalized that we stop talking about gender, we just talk about bloody beer. Just the beer. That's all we want to talk about. We're tired of that question. What does it feel like to be a woman in the beer industry? Hell, I don't know what it feels like to be a man in the beer industry, so how can I compare? It's just who I am and what I've done for over 30 years, and I love it here. It's a great space for me. I love the tradition of it. I love the flavor of it. I love the camaraderie of it. I love all these different things that make it a unique place that fits me. It fits me like a glove. So, you know, I can't leave because I'm at home here. It's my home.
Like, to me, beer is a vibrant and bright and wonderful community, and there's something there for everybody. There's a beer for everybody. There's a job for everybody. Like, it's great. And I should point out that if times were normal in the last, well, let's just call it 35, 40 days, there would be a bunch of Pink Boots Society beers on tap across America right now. I'm drinking one.
Yahoo! What kind?
Oh, well, we've got this pink as hell hibiscus
Is that
IPA.
the name? Pink as hell?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a hibiscus IPA. It's made by somebody, I forget who made it, though.
It sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, so tell us about this beer. I think it's a strange beer because the hibiscus really overpowers in the flavor, but when you smell it, it's all IPA in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, when we were brewing a beer, our chapter had, I think, close to 20 breweries participate this year, which is double what we did last year. So that was really exciting for us. Super stoked. You know, if you're considering the greater Sacramento area, there's almost like 100 breweries. So to have 20 of them participate is a pretty good number. We saw a lot of people using the hop blend and doing either hazies. We had some sours, Blonde Ale, a lot of different styles. I wanted to do a West Coast IPA, and I wanted it to be pink. And so the best way I could find that was to use hibiscus. I think I went a little hard on the hibiscus, but it's fun, and it's a cool flavor. And it does look pink as hell. And the women who came to our brew day, they voted on that name based on the Lizzo song "Good as Hell," which is just like a song about a girl who's taking care of herself and like feeling good as hell. And we wanted the stink to be pink as hell.
Yeah.
Oh, and look, one just showed up on my.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's like I own the place. It's so weird.
But
so
yeah.
if you guys are picking up some noise in the background, it's because the kids are playing whatever. They're playing brewery, and you see them dancing around back here, and they're doing their daily duties. So I keep telling them, fill it in, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And
we are operating brewery, so go ahead.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Pink Boots hop blend. Now, is that a nationwide blend, or is it everybody gets their own choice of what kind of blend they're going to do?
It's worldwide.
Nice.
I mean,
good point. Sorry, did I say nationwide?
Yeah.
How uncouth of me. I apologize.
Global. Not everyone globally can get their hands on it, but we're doing our best to do that. Do you mind if I explain it, or do you want to explain it, Heidi?
No, you do.
Oh, I can? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So what happens is that we have a partnership with Yakima Chief Hops and Country Malt Group, which is the distributing arm of Great Western Malting Company. And what those guys do, and it's our biggest fundraiser through these hops, in addition to the Pink Boots Brew Day, is that we have a meeting. One of our big international/national meetings is during the Great American Beer Festival. And the Pink Boots members who will attend that, sometimes from all over the world, but mostly that happens to be mostly North American women in the beer industry. We have a hop rub. We have some kind of plastic cups there. They're beer cups, and we have all these bricks of hops laid out. They're the sample leaf hop samples, fresh from the harvest in October there, and Yakima Chief brings them to our meeting, and the gals at the meeting will I'll take like 1/5 of this hop and 1/5 of that, and I'll shake it up and I'll smell it, or something like that. Maybe they'll start with 2 hops, do a blend, smell it. What do you think? And everybody's doing all these blends, and then they'll kind of pal up, just spontaneously, and they'll say, "Well, I like yours better than mine." Okay, and then at the end there's however many, let's say 10 or 15 of these cups, and everybody's got little notepads and they're making lists of what's in it, and it's all blind. And then all the members that are attending the meeting get to go and then try these ones that people put forward and say, "I think this is the best." And then everybody that attends that meeting gets to vote on what they think the best blend is, and then that becomes the blend for Pink Boots Society for that year. So it's different every year. And the Yakima Chief looks for everyone to pre-order because they got to know how much to make in the way of pellets. Mm-hmm. They did a little extra this year for spot sales, which is kind of fun because we've seen in the past that some of the brewers, that beer becomes so popular with their local beer drinkers that they're like, "Can I get any more?" Because I really want to make that beer again, and they didn't pre-order enough to do that. But this year they will be able to buy some more on spot, and Pink Boots Society receives $3 from every pound of that that's sold. So if a brewery buys an 11-pound box, that's $33 for Pink Boots Society. And this year, for the first time, Yakima Chief, what they did is that they put some of the pellets in 2-ounce little packages so homebrewers could brew with us.
Yeah, I really
awesome.
appreciated that you guys did that this year. So I posted it on our social because I was like, "Oh my gosh, you can make your own at home," and everybody wants special hop blends for their home brew because then they can tell everybody about it, and then it raises more awareness for women in brewing just through home brewers. It's a great way of networking.
Yeah.
And you know that this money is raised for our scholarship program, right?
Of course. Which I was like, we'll get there naturally, I think. But so yeah, do it. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, when we had that very first meeting of Pink Boots Society members, because at that meeting they decided to become an organization, I went home from that meeting and I thought, oh my gosh, what does it mean to be an organization? I mean, I've never started an organization. I haven't started a business, although Pink Boots Society is sort of like a business, needs all the same things a business needs. And so I started really thinking about, what does this mean? You know, we could have a party once a year, but I think that the organization would die after a few years. And I came to the conclusion that we need a purpose that's bigger than any one of us in order to be something that's meaningful in the industry as a whole. So I decided that, well, I think that we should have a scholarship program, because although there may be a glass ceiling, we never talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about how do we get around it, how do we break it, and we're going to break it through education. So how are we going to do that? We're going to raise money for scholarships. Well, we need to do that. So it took several years to get a 501c3 because I am a creator. I'm not an admin.
Yeah.
And so I'm really no good at that kind of stuff. But my mother-in-law luckily helped me write the 98-page application to the IRS to get 501c3 tax-exempt status. I mean, now we have all these lawyers that are beer-focused lawyers that are members. But back then, we didn't have that many members. Yeah. So I had to do it myself. And as soon as we got that, then we could start approaching the different schools out there, like the Civil Institute, Cicerone Program, etc., and try to get these scholarships that sometimes we get a seat donated completely, and sometimes, like in the Siebel one, it's so popular that we had to pay for at least 50% of it. But we get them to donate the other 50% because we can't afford that many scholarships. So we did a lot this year. I seem to think that in 2018 we did over 40 scholarships in 1 year. It's just an incredible amount.
Including Ellen Sherrill from Track 7. Nothing. What? Nothing.
Yep.
Cool.
So Ashley Schaefer. She got
from Sierra Nevada and Summerfest. Yeah.
Yeah, Summerfest. Yeah, Summerfest, excuse me, yeah. So
that's great. Yeah, I'd love to see it. I wish it was available. Honestly, I wish Pink Boots was there for me when I was in my early years. I got by without it. I was fine. But I see a lot of women who really need to connect with others. Maybe they're just more comfortable. And the kind of questions that we've had come up either on our Pink Boots Facebook page or in meetings like, I'm pregnant, and what do I need to know about chemicals in the brewery because I'm a brewer, or climbing ladders? And these are questions that women are too shy to ask in a co-ed environment or even a mostly male environment. So we create a safe space for women to ask any questions that they want, no matter how they might feel foolish in a different setting. They don't need to feel foolish with Pink Boots. We're a safe space.
Yeah, the labor of gender-specific management often falls on the women, unfortunately. Like, unless there are women in management, but there are just businesses where I don't think there can be girls who go up and say, hey, I might need maternity leave at some point. What does that mean for my job? Or I might, need this reprieve because of something going on in my life specific to me being a girl. And a lot of the owners, I think, would probably just be like, I've never thought of that. So what are you going to do about it? And then it gives us another resource to be like, hey, other girls, someone's had to have been in this position or thought about it. What do you think? Can we have a soundboard for all of this? And it's just really lovely to have the support of other people to go through those experiences.
Yeah, and you get that feedback. Like, even if they didn't have a good experience, they'd be like, they can tell you what they wish they would have done to get it right if they did have a bad experience with anything like that. So, yeah, I think it's a wonderful resource.
Or if they had a good experience, they could say, why doesn't your boss call my boss? Here's their number, because we went through this and it worked really well for us, and this could work well at your brewery too.
Yeah, get the word out regardless to make sure that things are functional and working for everybody that needs it. So, yeah.
Well, this is why we have, lawyers and, hopefully employers that are sensitive to situations like that. So
I know you were talking a little bit about as far as your scholarship programs at the Pink Boots Society. Is there a way for just individuals to donate to Pink Boots Society if they wanted to?
Sure. They could go to pinkbootssociety.org, and on the menu bar at the top, there's donate, and there's a donate page, and they can donate. I think it's through PayPal. Other things they can do is if you like to order on Amazon.com, if you order through smile.amazon.com, and you sign up for Pink Boots Society, we are a bona fide registered nonprofit charity there. PayPal, I think we're also in PayPal and Costco, and there's a lot of programs out there that we're a part of. So, like for Amazon, for example, every time you shop at Amazon, once you've registered that you want Pink Boots Society to be your charity, and you order through smile.amazon.com, then a little bit of the money goes toward Pink Boots Society, and every little bit really adds up.
Yeah.
To help us get our members more, scholarships, benefits, whatever. I mean, it's just an awesome place, not just for raising money, but Pink Boots Society is such an awesome place for women to talk to each other and network and support each other. I mean, pretty amazing. I go to meetings and I just get blown away. And hey, Heidi or Alyssa, have you guys ever attended the biennial conference? We've held 2 of them so far.
We have not.
No,
I have not
yet.
Yeah.
The next one's going to be on the East Coast. I think it's going to be in North Carolina. Yeah, it's going to be Charlotte, North Carolina in 2021. And it's so amazing. I mean, the first time they did it in honor of Pink Boots' 10th anniversary. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much work. But I wasn't on the board, and, I fired myself from the board on purpose because I
How
knew...
can you fire yourself? I love that. How can I get fired?
Well, after 9 years of pretty much running it myself, I said, we put together a good board at that point, and I said, I got to stop doing this. I've burned myself out. And they said, well, you want to be on the board, right? And I said, no. And, you want to be president? No. You want to be on the board? No. And they're like, well, you won't have a say. I said, I know. And I said, if this girl can't stand on her own 2 feet without me, she's not going to survive. So this is like trial by fire. You guys got to do it. I'm burnt out. And so they were amazing. And the thing is if I had stayed on that board, when they wanted to make a decision, should we do this or that? Everybody raise your hand. They'd all be looking at me. What does mom want? And I didn't want them to do that. I wanted them to figure out on their own. So they decided to hold the first conference we ever had. All the presenters at the conference are Pink Boots members, so all women presenters. And then they also had a welcome reception the night before, and they had a beer festival the day after. And I thought, oh my God, there's 3 major events. And I thought they're going to burn themselves out. And of course they did. But they didn't do that. If I was on the board, I would have recommended against it. But in hindsight, it was the best thing. Because one thing about Pink Boots Society is that it demands a lot from you, but it gives even more back. And these women that have been on the board, Laura Ulrich, they will tell you that Pink Boots Society has made them who they are today. They are leaders because of Pink Boots Society. And Alyssa, I'm sure you see that in your chapter, that Pink Boots Society has demanded a lot of you, but you have grown so much as a leader because of it. And so getting back to the conference, they did a second one. Oh, right away at that conference, which the first one was in San Diego, the ladies from Austin, Texas were like, we want to have the next one. We'll do it next year. And the board was like, no, 2 years. We can't do it again. We just burnt ourselves out. So Austin did one in 2019, and it was amazing. And I get to go there and be a figurehead. They let me talk. I get to put on my tiara. I figured, damn it, I'm going to get up and talk. I'm putting on my tiara. So I bought a tiara, and I wear it because I figure I get to be, like the grandma. I'm the grandma of Pink Boots now, or whatever. And I wear the tiara, and it's a lot of fun. And I get to give an inspirational talk, or I try to. But just the women that were there were going. They would come up to me, and they'd say, "We think that this bottle share we did at the end, that you guys should put at the beginning." I said, "There is no you." I said, "There's only us. We are all Pink Boots members. Pink Boots member belongs to all of us. It belongs to you guys. And if you guys really want to see a bottle share at the beginning because you feel it's a good social instrument," I said, "then you offer to run it. And you just say, we're going to handle it. We're going to take it on." And I said, "There's 6 of you standing right here in front of me." I said, "Why don't you do that?" So I think they're going to do it. And so everybody who, during all those years, who said, "Teri, I think you should do this, or you should do that, or Pink Boots should do this." And I said, "Great. That's a great idea. You're in charge of that. Well, it's a new committee. It's yours. What do you want to call it?" So I voluntold a lot of people that they were now in charge of these things because it was important to them. I said, if it's important to you, it's important to somebody else too, but I can't do it myself. So it's been fantastic. And I've said from the beginning, Pink Boots Society takes a team of us. It is not mine. I don't own it. You own it. Take it where you want to go. It's gone in multiple directions that I wouldn't have steered it in, which is why I had to fire myself. So that it could, Pink Boots has a life of its own. It is like giving birth to a child. If this child wants to, you want to see it play softball, but it wants to be a gymnast, whatever, the child wants what the child wants. Pink Boots has its own agenda that goes well beyond any one of us, but it works for all of us too.
Yeah, there's something about just growing, and like you have all this experience from the beginning that you can bring in. But as beer evolves and as the job evolves and as acceptance of women in the beer industry evolves, like there's a newer voice that needs to be heard as well. And it's really cool that you're like, yeah, it's not just what I want because this has changed. And it's absolutely okay to give it to somebody else. Like, hey, you're in there now. You're seeing what I've done bear fruit, but there's still some other things that need to be picked off to make it clean. So
right. I basically built the trunk of that tree. I gave it a really good infrastructure. I came up with the idea that let's have scholarships, let's become a 501c3, let's raise money, tax-exempt money for as a charity for scholarships. And then, you have to think about these things. So you're like, okay, well, we could give away 6 or 12 scholarships a year. But what if we have a lot of members? How are they going to benefit? So thus we have the PIF requirement, which stands for Pay It Forward. And that means that if you are applying for a scholarship, if you are chosen as a scholarship recipient, notice I did say the word winner, because I don't want to insinuate that if one member wins that scholarship, what does that mean? The rest of the applicants are? No. Every Pink Boots Society member is a winner. Every single one. So, but who is the recipient of that scholarship? How are we going to make sure that that one person's education can benefit not just all of Pink Boots Society, but hopefully the whole beer industry? Thus, the Pay It Forward requirement. So some of the Pay It Forwards are some of the speakers at our conference, at our meetings. I like them to be on the national or international level more than the chapter level, but I'll take whatever. If you can't get published in New Brewer magazine, we'll publish you online. If you can't get a speaker slot at the Craft Brewers Association or the Craft Brewers Conference to do your Pay It Forward, you could speak at our national conference or something. But the camaraderie that comes out of our conference after 2 days of these sessions, it blows me away how fired up you get. And we keep the conference at a very inexpensive level. We try to get sponsors for it, and so it's really cheap. But the education is super high. I've had people come up to me after the conference and say this was better than the CBC because the quality of the speakers was so high. And we've had men attend our conference. You don't have to be a woman. Anybody can attend the conference. It's funny because when we do some of the bottle share things, the guys kind of go off. They just want the education. They don't necessarily want the bottle share part. And And it's whatever, but nobody is prevented from attending if they want to attend. So if you guys can attend in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2021, gosh, I really recommend it. It's incredible. It will inspire you through the moon, because women are coming from South America all over to attend that thing, and just the connections you're going to make worldwide is just, and at such a reasonable cost, blows you away.
Yeah, and what you can bring back to your own local community in the brewing industry. And I don't know if, Teri, you're aware of this, but Fort Rock does something not just for professional brewers, but for home brewers that are women every year.
They do what?
Yeah, they do what?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we host the Queen of Beer homebrew competition.
Oh, it's you guys.
It's us. Yes. So we create a space for them to everybody ships their beer here, and then we do the competition here, and then we do our crowning of the Queen of Beer, and I think it's really fun that we've done this, and so we've just kind of committed to doing it, indefinitely, because why not, right? I mean, I was a female home brewer, so it has been growing, because now the Pink Boots is involved with the Queen of Beer, and so it's at our brewery. So,
do they get to have a tiara to wear?
Oh yes.
I love that. Yay. That's the most fun part. I never got to wear a tiara in my life until I decided to wear one to the Pink Boots conference.
Well, you can wear a tiara whenever you want. Just go wear one, right?
Yeah, but I feel like I need to earn that a little bit, and one of the things I talked about at our last conference, because we now have an award that we give out for like the volunteers, like been the mostest and stuff for a few years, and so we give them a tiara and a plaque, because basically I feel like when you're young, you need to network and you're really trying to grow your career and everything. But when you become, let's say, like my age in this industry, or even when I started Pink Boots Society, when you get to a certain age, then instead of needing to take, it's your turn to give back. And you need to bless other women. And so that's when you become a queen. And so I feel like through Pink Boots Society, I am blessing other women in the beer industry. And through your Queen of Beer competition, you guys are blessing other women in the beer industry. So you need to be wearing tiaras too.
Oh, you're so sweet. No, we're very lucky, because our space is big enough to host this. And anytime I can give back, especially to homebrewers, being, one of myself, it's like, sure, I'll help out homebrewers, I'll help out, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're brave
about that competition too, is that the local Sacramento chapter has been able to have our members help judge and learn to judge, and so it was one of the first times that I got to sit down and learn about BJCP guidelines and get to sit next to judges in the area who had been doing it for a while and kind of describe how that process goes. So it got to be a really good educational opportunity for people in the area too.
That's fantastic. I'd love to see more of that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if maybe in the future, since now Pink Boots is having their proprietary hop blend available to homebrewers, maybe move it up so that way people could make a PBS entry into the Queen of Beer, and the hops haven't died off by then.
That could be its own category.
Yeah.
Even.
Like the Pink Boots honorary thing would be a pretty cool thing to have.
Yeah. That's a cool idea.
I like all these ideas.
Except for
Tell
the
me
schedule
more.
move up. I'm sure it's easy to organize these things, these international brewing competitions.
Oh, I don't organize them. I just host them.
It's very simple, so it should take no time or effort.
Yeah.
So I'll just pitch that.
I'll put it in my notes. I'll put it in my phone in my notes.
Yeah. I say it today, and by Tuesday, probably all sorted out. I'm sure.
Of course.
Not-
Well, if you're going to volunteer to do it, Ben,
no. I did not volunteer to do it. I just said I said the idea out loud, and that's all I need to do. I've done my end.
What a fabulous idea! So you're going to take care of it.
Here's the thing.
Sounds good.
It's Queen of Beer, Pink Boots Society. It's supporting women in beer. I have no place in it, so I just want to just toss an idea out there and then back away, and then be like, "Why didn't you take my idea? What are you doing?" I'm a
Heidi is
straight white male. My
volunteering
ideas are the
you
best
right
ideas.
now.
Just implement them. What's so hard about this?
You can volunteer. I'm pretty sure you might get drafted any minute on that one.
We do have men come in and judge the beer. It's not all women just judging the beer. So
Yeah. Yeah. I still feel like I'm not a good beer judge, so I don't do it.
but you can learn.
Oh man, I had a rough one at I don't even remember what I did. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Having to.
You didn't like the beer, or you didn't like the judging?
I didn't like the judging. Didn't care for it.
Well, it's work.
Yeah.
It's really hard work.
Yeah.
It's not just sitting back, kicking back, relaxing, and enjoying the beer. It's picking it apart until you don't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah. It's not my speed. I'm like, no. I love beer. I'm like, this is a bad beer. I can tell you a bad beer, but the best beer? Oof, okay. So we got to pick out little tiny things. I'm like, I don't like it.
In that bad beer, what's your feedback for that brewer? You're going to have to pick that apart and say, well, this is, the troubleshoot it basically, where these are the off flavors and off aromas, and these are the causes so that they can improve.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Exactly. It's not fun. And I love fun, and I'm very lazy.
Well, the best part of judging is the other judges. It's like hanging out with the other judges and chit-chatting in between your rounds. And then afterwards, there's a party usually. So.
Oh, yes. Yes, we have a party afterwards, for sure.
Yeah, I think.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did try to beg out of doing IPA review tasting, just because I'm like, nah, I don't want to do it. And I ended up at a table with only one other judge. And I guess we did not agree on what an IPA should be, and we fought on everything. I'm like, "That's your favorite? That's what you think? I think this is the worst IPA on this table. Like, I think it's the worst
but you
thing.
You have to define worst.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What are your words? You're gonna have to learn your vocabulary.
Right.
Judging vocabulary.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just like, it's musty. It's just there's no real hop character that's here. It's like if it was 1995 and IPAs aren't what they are now, yeah, this is a great IPA, but it's not 1995. But if you're using the judging guidelines from then, yeah, sure, this totally is fine, but it's not what an IPA is. And that's also the hard part is beer is so wild now that a BJCP judging guideline versus what is a beer that you would make commercially has changed. What were we talking about? I'm sorry. Where did I go?
Well, I mean, we're talking about beer judging now, but I mean, think about like the New England IPA is finally like being put on the radar of beer, and it's like it's been around for a long time, but it's been excluded, and so it's kind of one of those things that's we're out in the Wild West here where we get the weirdest beers people put together. I mean, I'm drinking a hibiscus IPA right now, which is amazing, by the way, but it's by German standards, this is definitely not beer.
Right. Well, and some people would argue that a New England IPA isn't an IPA in the traditional sense of what an IPA is defined as because it doesn't have the bittering levels. So, what is it? It's its own thing. It's just that it happens to have the IPA moniker. Yeah. Now, I don't know with the competition that you're speaking of if IPA is further delineated into sub-styles. But basically what you and the other person were doing were judging multiple sub-styles of IPA within the IPA category. And so, this is a great 1990s IPA. How is it for that sub-style compared to the other one? It's kind of like doing a best of show. So you guys were doing an IPA best of show. And so, one person, maybe an old school person might say this 1990s style, that's truly what IPA is by the definition of IPA. As an India Pale Ale coming out of Great Britain in the American vein versus this New England style IPA, which doesn't qualify as an IPA at all because it has no bitterness.
Yeah.
No, but it's a New England style. So which one is better for its subcategory? That's difficult.
Yeah. And which one do you push forward into that best of show? Like, what is your end goal here? It's like a little bit of politicking, and it's difficult. I hate it, and I don't want to do it, but I appreciate people that do it.
I wouldn't want to compare those two against each other because they're apples and oranges.
Yeah, I think there was like IPAs and hazy IPAs were separate, but there was no other subcategory of IPAs and things like that. So you could have like an old school IPA and a West Coast IPA, and and they would be the same category. So it's always kind of strange. Anyway, overall it was fun, but that one was it was a weird experience to have.
You know what? You should volunteer to be a steward and not a judge. Have you done that job yet?
I have not.
Oh,
It's
that's
super fun.
Yeah.
You know what's so awesome about that? I mean, I haven't judged the homebrew competition in a little while, but when I used to steward before I became a judge, the stewards would be taking the poured beers in the back and bringing them out to the judges, and then if the judge is using a paper form, collecting the paper forms, glancing at them before they turn them into the person who's inputting on the computer, and then, so as a steward, you knew which ones were ahead, and you would then go to the back and be drinking on that one's ahead. And the judges said this versus that. Let me taste those.
Yeah.
So you get to like learn from the judges, and the stewarding is actually the most fun of any job.
Yeah, they seem like they're having a blast.
I've stewarded before, and it is fun, and it's actually a very big learning experience because
educational.
Yeah, it's very educational, and yeah, I've done it. They at the California State Fair, they call us the flight attendants.
That's awesome.
So we got to do that, and it was very educational because it was actually the first year that the brewery was open, and so I learned a ton about beer that day. It was great.
What's kind of fun about judging though is that you learn all these like vocabulary words, and like you get comfortable with aromas and flavors, and then you go to like other things, like you go to coffee or you go to dinner and eat food, and when you start using that same vocabulary, all your friends are just like, okay, like you're eating a quesadilla, let's just calm down over there, but you get really into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird world, but it serves a purpose. It serves a very good purpose, and I'm really glad people are doing it. I actually started this podcast trying to get back to that language because I used to use it a lot. And then I was like, I'll just do this podcast and I'll like re-establish my palate and my vocabulary. And then I'm like, I don't want to do it. Actually, I don't. I just enjoy talking to people, it turns out. I don't want to be the person who's breaking down beers every day. It just sounds like not as fun. You can get that anywhere. You can get a breakdown of a beer 90 different places. I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So as people kept offering me space to talk about being a human being, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to tackle that instead. So that's what I've been doing. Anyway, enough about me. I didn't need to be here. We can just pretend I never said a word. Thank you so much for your time. That's what I meant the whole time.
It's been fun.
But
are we over now, or are we still going?
I was going to ask, and this is, you don't have to answer this question at all. So how are things going? Given what is happening in the world right now, what are your feelings and thoughts and concerns? And just softball question. Just gonna lob it in there. You do with it what you want, and you don't have to.
Personally, I'm happy. I'm just personally in my own life. I'm happy. I don't know if that's relevant to your question, but I still have my job, so I feel super fortunate. My husband, who's a traveling sales rep, he's in the beer industry too. He works on the supplier side for an equipment company, and he is based out of the house right now. Neither of us have jobs that are normally out of the house, but we're making the most of it. And, he built a pizza oven in back, so we're doing wood-fired pizzas, and, we're having fun hanging out with each other. So, I feel super fortunate that we both still have jobs. In the beer industry itself, I'm super concerned about the smallest breweries, because the draft mostly breweries are suffering, and the pubs are suffering, and they're trying to do deliveries. Anybody who's not canning needs to get into cans to do anything right now. That's where the action's at, and it's in large packages of cans. And what I mean by that is like cases of cans, half cases of cans. People are not going out and buying one can or a 6-pack. They're buying a case or half a case. So, I'm very concerned about how long this is going to last for the people that their format is draft, because they have to sell growlers, and they have to do curbside pickup or deliveries, and that's how people are making it. Luckily, I live in Oregon, where the governor, like in one day, okayed, basically you turn in your application, you could be okayed the same day for home deliveries of beer. So they just, they just have to see you and wave at you. They could put it on your front doorstep, spray it down with a sanitizer, ring the doorbell, run away, and then they stand out at their car and they wait for you to come out, and then they wave because they can see how old you are or something, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
That's basically what it is. I have not heard of any children trying to order beer, probably because their parents are homebound too. Everyone's in. Right?
Yeah.
I know Mexico has determined that breweries are considered non-essential. I wonder how long that's going to last, because breweries are essential. In Colorado, the governor, who's not a drinker and doesn't consume those kinds of things, said breweries and pot shops, that's marijuana shops, are non-essential, and the state of Colorado went nuts. You expect us to get through this thing without our beer or our pot candy or whatever? It's like, we need that stuff. And so, Mexico is that's going to be a problem. I think they're going to have to change that, because breweries are essential. Just because you don't drink doesn't mean they're not essential to other people. I certainly, because my husband's home, I'm having a beer every night. When he's on the road, I don't usually have a beer every night, but I'm enjoying my beer every night right now. So I'm going to keep doing that. What goes better with wood-fired pizza made by your husband in the backyard than a good local beer anyway?
Oh,
That
nice
sounds
Italian Pilsner. Whew.
That sounds so good. My
Yeah.
goodness.
I'll tell you, we're really enjoying Occidental
Okay.
Brewery Hellas.
Nice.
Adelhell. It's in our neighborhood here in St. John's neighborhood of Portland, Oregon, but damn, that's a fine Hellas, and it goes really well with wood-fired pizza.
And what about for you guys, Alyssa and Heidi? Any comments, questions, concerns, terrors?
What about COVID?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, no, it's concerning. Again, I told my parents are 79. They're staying home, and Heidi's grocery delivery service is in full swing. We're still allowed to sell beer. People can come in. We're doing home delivery too, so you can go online and order beer and have it delivered to the house in our cute little Fort Rock van. And it's been going pretty well. You're seeing people back here coming in and getting beer to go and filling growlers and stuff. But I want to open. I mean,
yeah,
we're going through an expansion right now, and
it's not ideal.
It's not ideal. I mean, this expansion's been taking months and months, thanks to the county of Sacramento, and we finally are doing it. And now we're we're closing down half of our production. So it's a weird time. And what is the new normal? I mean, again, we're in California, so Gavin's been pretty good about making sure that we can stay open and we can still sell beer. He changed rules for us so we can deliver. So it's not horrible, but it's not.
It's not like an everyday. It's not better. It's not equal.
It's tricky, like with production too. A lot of the supplies that brewers are used to having available to them, as far as chemicals and sanitizers, are now being prioritized for medical staff, and so I don't have all the sanitizers I used to. All of the alcohol-based ones, which are an instant sanitizer versus like a multi-minute contact time, I have to be more careful with and conservative with. And we are it's interesting trying to predict out what our demand is. We had an idea from previous years and general growth patterns of, this is how much we need in draft, this is how much we need in cans, here's how much we can likely sell of a given type of beer at this time of the year. And it's all out the window. So it feels like starting over and just learning again. We're lucky that we have super supportive customers and community that come in and are still grabbing beer, and people are respectful of social distancing. People come in with masks and really do try to keep it safe for everyone. But yeah, it's hard starting from scratch. And thankfully in Sacramento, having the can van, they are the heroes of the beer industry out here.
Yeah, they are crushing it.
Exactly. I know I was going to talk about the can van because they're, I'm sorry, Alyssa, I'm cutting you off, but they're also a female-owned company. So yeah.
Yeah.
They spoke at a
awesome.
Pink Boots meeting once. They were great.
Yeah.
Super inspirational.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're.
They've been working, I think they have 12 canning lines, if I remember correctly now. And they've just been running them all around California, canning as much beer as possible. You know, probably breweries who use them 2 or 3 times a year tops are now asking to use them multiple times a month. And they are working weekends, they're working overtime. They're just a great group of people. And so, like, if you're drinking beer in Sacramento right now that's in a can, there's a high probability it was canned by Can Van, and, like, they're the best. You definitely need to pay respect to them.
Yeah, because I know, Terry, you're up in Oregon where everybody has a canning line. Everybody and their mother has a canning line, but in Sacramento, there's very few that did. And so when this hit, it's like, oh, no, how are we going to get our product out? And the sheer volume of beers that we can get in a community that doesn't really have canning lines has been incredible, and that's definitely because of the Can Van's hard work.
We have similar mobile canning companies. They started out as mobile bottlers, and then they added canning lines. And they are definitely a godsend right now because, I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure there's probably breweries that got calls from their distributors when the governor shut things down and said, hey, I got this beer, can you take it back? I don't know what the legal ramifications are, or if you have beer in kegs that was about to go out for your distributor. I mean, basically, you take those kegs, you put them back into a bright tank, and you can it off. And hopefully, you've been super, super sanitary along the way. But beer is being rerouted from kegs into cans. And if you don't have your own canning line, yes, you definitely use something like the Can Van, whatever is services in your area, and it's making a huge difference. You know, cans are where it's at right now, especially during this pandemic. It's all about the cans.
So that's what Alyssa has been doing. She's been doing a great job monitoring and managing all of the kegs that we had packaged and keeping a fermenter or 2 open. So then we do can, we can just put everything into cans as fast as we can. We've been jokingly calling it our new COVID packaging because we have these generic labels that we've been putting, like, I think, Ben, you probably have one. And so this is our new COVID packaging that it's working. You know, it's not super Gucci, but it's okay. we're getting through it.
Look, it tells you who made it,
Yep.
what it is,
Yep.
and your story.
It gives the story, and it also has the government package, government warning on it, right? Yeah.
Right.
So it meets all the requirements.
Yeah.
It's not great, but we're getting through it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
we're definitely appreciative that, you know, I think in normal times people would have high standards for beer, given that there's a lot of breweries in this area. So there's, you know, a lot of competition, and you got to present yourself well. And during all of this, people are like, oh, you got, you know, stickers on your labels that are like generic on your cans. Oh, that's fine. Okay, thanks for making beer. And we're like, oh, thank you for buying it.
Look, we get it. You may
fine.
have run out, or this was a last-second thing. It's totally fine.
So yeah, we're just, you know, constantly peeking to see what we're supposed to do and going with it, and, you know, we'll get through it.
And then to me, I think there's a bright side at the end of all of this. For years, the CCBA has been working to get certain regulations lifted and changed. And since we're now experiencing that you can do home deliveries, that you can do all these different things, shipping beer, shipping it in-state, some places out-of-state, maybe finally we're getting away from that tied house concern where people can actually distribute their own beer, not only to the local market or within their own brewery or tap room, but getting it out to people who want it across the nation, across the globe, which, I mean, they're in there for a reason, but it's also 2020. The world is different. Like, sanitation's different. Delivery systems are different. Pallets are different. The way people consume is different. Maybe this is the thing that finally makes it so you can do that. Because we're kind of field testing it now, and it's passing with pretty decent colors. Maybe.
It's been 100 years since since Prohibition was enacted, although it was enacted early in a lot of states, certainly in Oregon, I think it came in 1916, but I think it was 1920 everywhere else. And that experiment didn't work, but man, did we get, when we have a hangover basically state by state from Prohibition that we're still dealing with 100 years later. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is going to change society in a lot of ways. I think it's going to be, it's certainly, the social scientists are studying it like crazy in the moment, I'm sure. But hopefully on the other side of it, we're a lot more patient and kind with each other. I'd really love to see that. And hopefully universities will do some stuff online so it's not so expensive, so it's a little more accessible to people who want university educations but can't afford them right now. I mean, there's going to be a lot of different ways this will change society. Maybe people will appreciate interpersonal contact more. Like when you go to a pub, maybe you'll be a little friendlier to the guy sitting on the next bar stool because, they're human and they're suffering. I certainly see people being a lot more patient with each other right now, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, there's really two ways you can think about it. It's a terrifying future or a hopeful future, and I kind of tend to lean towards that hopeful side.
Yeah.
That we learn something and take away those lessons and apply them. So, yeah, this is a fun way to wind down this episode. I apologize immensely. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Well, you know what's really cool? You got to look for the silver lining in a situation like we're in now with this pandemic. Homebrewing is going through the roof right now because people are rediscovering their inner creative soul. And so homebrewing is going nuts. At least here in Washington, where I work, Vancouver, I know there's a homebrew shop there called Bader Beer and Wine. And they're taking orders by phone and curbside pickup, and they're busier than they've been in a long time.
That's
and
awesome.
So I know that my husband, who's been trying to make pizza dough, has been finding the flour is sold out everywhere. People are going online saying, I'm out of yeast. We're like, well, have you heard of a sourdough starter? And you can make your own. And so I'm hoping that people remember this maker lifestyle when it comes to food and beverage. And I think that a whole bunch of people rediscovering homebrewing is actually going to be good for the beer industry. Sure, we might lose some of the breweries that are out there because somehow they can't get a hold of the can van or something that can help them stay alive during the pandemic. But for everyone that we lose, which I'm hoping there's none, but I'm sure there will be some, that maybe someone else will rediscover their inner beer maker through the homebrewing they're doing now, and will pick up that baton and run with it in the future so that we can maintain this craft beer culture that we've worked so hard to create over the last, 35 or whatever years, 36 years. So, at any rate, yay for the silver lining that homebrewing is going gangbusters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is when a lot of the collaboration brew day beers are coming out, and so if you see any local breweries who had participated previously, ask if they have their Pink Boots beers to go. Help support them and get the word out there about Pink Boots Society.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think I brought this up last year. I didn't double check before. I should have done this before we started this. But did anyone go with my idea from last year? Women be hoppin'.
Is that that's the beer type name you wanted?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of one.
No, not yet. You'll have to ping us.
I'll have to remember next year. Yeah.
Yeah. We've had, this is our third year doing the Pink Boots beer. So we did the Duck Lips, and then we did Beauty School Hop Out.
Yeah, I love that one.
And then the Pink as Hell. So, all right, we'll put it on the list, man.
I'm sorry, don't do it. Doesn't worry about it. It's fine. But I do think it's fun. So as far as what this stupid podcast I run does, I don't know if you guys are following what I do, but I do a semi-daily Chugs for Charity thing, where I just post dumb Instagram videos of me reviewing beers and chugging them. So I do a shelter-in-place sip, so a sip.
Mm-hmm.
I give a quick tasting note, and then I just chug it. I'm like, if you like this, I don't know why you would. Give me money, then I'll give it to charities. I'll give it to charities that support service industry workers who are out of work or with limited work, and for teachers and students who need supplies and internet connections and food and things like that, for low-income housing that, it's like your kids are back at home. They're usually depending on the school food, and now it's not there. So I give money to that. And then since I do a stupid comedy thing on the side, I do performing arts theaters. I give them money during the shutdown as well. So if you like that, Instagram comedian Barley and Me Pod. I know my stuff. I do those dumb videos to raise money.
Awesome.
Very cool.
I would never chug a beer in general, but I'm like, well, this is people like this, and I don't think people are going to watch 20 minutes of me slowly, painstakingly sipping a beer. Like, yeah, this is just hanging out at home, drinking a beer. So, got to keep it quick. So that's what I do on my end. Anyway, speaking of ways to support you guys, what do you guys got going on that people can do from home to support you?
Go to pinkbootsociety.org and buy a Pink Boots Society t-shirt or swag. That's a good way to do it. There's also a donate button on donut. No, you can't order donut.
I would love a donut.
But you can donate, though. And smile.amazon.com, Pink Boots Society. Pick Pink Boots Society as your charity. Do you guys got more ideas? Go to the Queen of Homebrew competition and beer festival down there in Sacramento. Do that. When is that?
It moves around a bit. It's usually in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had it in October, we've had it in December. It kind of depends on how busy the organizers are. So I will see when they're going to do it this year, because we're literally in a cancel culture right now where things are just getting, I mean, I just got word 3 weeks ago that they're talking about canceling Oktoberfest.
In Germany?
The Oktoberfest.
Yeah. I think they should.
Because they start setting up in June.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna be devastating for I was telling Ben, my buddy Jake, who runs a travel company in Germany. So it's definitely affecting people. So all the everything's being canceled and moved around. So who knows what it's gonna be.
I think
another thing you can do is tip your servers. I know people, it's different when you're buying cans and stuff to go. You're like, oh, I'm buying products. It's like a grocery store, leave. But these servers, a lot of them work part-time because they were relying on tips to supplement part of their income, and they're, delivery drivers as well. Tipping them is really important right now.
And if you get a $1,200 check from the government and you don't absolutely need it, use it to buy takeout food, use it to buy beer, and tip like crazy. Just tip like crazy. Keep those restaurants and brew pubs and breweries alive. Use that check. Use that bonus money if you don't need it really badly.
Yeah, if you're cash secure, there's no reason for you to be squirreling it away right now. You're not a massive corporation who hates humans. You're a human being who loves humans.
Yeah.
Use
your stimmy check.
For
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it. I think we can go. Is that the thing?
We can.
Yeah. Sounds good.
That's the thing.
Thanks for having us, Ben.
Yeah. Thank you so much for popping on.
Yeah.
And where can people go find Fort Rock Brewing, just so we can get that on the record?
Where can you find it?
Yeah.
Well, obviously at Fort Rock Brewing. We're canning as much as we can. There are a few accounts around town that are filling growlers for us. And then Tom, my lovely husband, has been delivering beer all over town in our van. So if you go to fortrockbrewing.com, you can fill up your carts and you'll have a touch-free delivery from Tom or one of our other associates. So
exactly.
And tip. Be sure to tip.
Yes.
Not with cash. Don't give him cash.
Yeah, he got some COVID cash the other day. But yeah, thing is that Tom isn't taking any tips. He's been giving them to all of our beer tenders. And so if you tip Tom, they get the tips. So
awesome. All right,
Yeah.
this has been episode 126 of Barley, and me with Heidi Wilder and Alyssa Steger from Fort Rock Brewing and Teri Fahrendorf from the Pink Boots Society. I've been your host, Ben Rice. You can follow Barley Me across social media at BarleyMePod. Go to darlingmepod.com. Email questions, comments, concerns at barleymepodcast@gmail.com or barleymepod@gmail.com. It's too many words. I hate it. I'm saying, why are you still listening? Hang up. How do podcasts work? Hit stop. Thanks so much for listening. Get home safe.